Another big blockbuster month with two highly anticipated projects that dominated everything else. I didn't have a lot of expectations for the rest of the content delivered this month, but I went in with an open mind. So let's take a look. This movie is definitely better than the previous two, mostly that it at least goes back to the roots of making the dinosaurs terrifying forces of nature, and that the main bunch of characters feels at least a little bit more grounded than the previous. The main reason I went into this movie was to see dinosaurs kill people. Not only did I get cool dinosaurs like the Mosasaur, the Titanosaurus, the Spinosaurus, and the mutant dinosaurs, but they actually ate people and were decently terrifying, so it won there. The T Rex scene was fun and decently scary. I'm glad the T Rex at least got some decent screen time in this movie. Jonathan Bailey was easily the best part. His whole attitude, his look, and the way he acted was so entertaining to watch. Particularly the scene with the Titanosaurs and the original score. It was beautiful, actually. The rest of the movie is kind of dumb, as a lot of the previous Jurassic content has been, and it's one of those movies where the more you look at it, the worse it gets. Mahershala, Scarlett, and the other cast range from mildly interesting to really not. And the family in particular added really nothing other than just annoyance. The T-Rex was scary at some points, but otherwise just derpy. Like, seriously, it looks so weird. Also, Kincaid should have died. That would have been a much more impact given his backstory and given the fact that this movie is supposed to be darker than the other ones. Much like Karate Kid Legends, this movie rehashes the story of the original with a slightly different take and a slightly different story. But Karate Kid Legends felt like a much more modern and competent take on the original, and this movie felt like a reinterpreted cash grab attempt, with a few good moments scattered here and there. I really only came into this movie for a few reasons. One, to see cool dinosaurs, and two, for Jonathan Bailey's performance. That's what I got. Those parts were good, so that's all I needed. This movie otherwise is completely fine. It does nothing really special or new, but it at least tries a little teensy bit harder.
Darn. Woo! Yeah, badness. Yeah. Let's go! If it's poppin', then you know we showing up. Bad beef from the east to you reppin', just throw it up. Real brothers show me love cause they loving the way I bust. These Glocks, semi-automatic, rev it, gear it up. If we poppin', ain't no stopping, these bullets don't give a fuck. Who you with, what your color, your papa, your...
The first movie is nothing really special. It has a lot of exposition, but that is made up by the fact that it's being explained to a new immortal, and the action scenes were pretty good. I had some limited hope for this movie. I was hoping it would be better than the original movie, but honestly, it was not. The action scenes were fine. I mean, they were nothing too special, but at least they were well put together. It was just a story that made no sense. There were some very strange choices they made in relation to certain choices the characters made that really bothered me in how it was handled. On top of that, according to my limited information about the comics it's based on, they removed a lot of the lesbianism from the relationship between Andy and Kuyen, which sucks because I did feel like there was some sort of that tension there, but removing it kind of took away a lot of the agency in the relationship and didn't help the forced conflict between the two feel any more valid or strongly written. As for the rest of the movie, the ending is very unsatisfying to the point where I want a third one just to see what the actual end will be. The fight between Charlize and Uma was cool, if a little underwhelming given the stakes that had built up to it. I never really liked the original all that much. It was nothing special nor anything too unique, but it still had some entertainment and interest. And this movie did not do any favors in helping me like the series anymore, thanks to some really poor decisions in the story. Despite the actually good action present across the movie, I think I want to now go back and read the graphic novels because it'll be interesting to see the difference between the movies and the books. As annoying as well as how the series ends if we do not get a third movie, which is annoying if we don't, given the annoying cliffhanger we are left on. Where the old guard could have been the next exciting action franchise with a few slightly different twists, the movie ended up being a disappointing action movie that did little to raise my interest in the series, and is an unfortunate disappointment given how long we waited for the sequel.
You can hear it too if you're sincere. 'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. Well, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. 'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am. Well, I'm a punk rocker, yes I am.
Gunn did it. He actually did it. He gave us one of the best Superman movies, both in years and maybe of all time. This is Richard Donner's Superman, reborn in beautiful modern colors. It has such life and light to it. It's energetic, it's corny, it's got great action, it's got great flying scenes, it's got great cinematography, it's got everything. Crypto the Superdog steals the show by being both adorable and a little menace. David Corenswet does such a great job bringing the quirky Clark Kent and Superman to life with his energy and the way he creates a clear divide between them. All of his Daily Planet supporting cast have done so well, particularly Lois Lane. The other superheroes are also brilliant. Eddie Gathegi's Mr. Terrific in particular steals the show as a sarcastic genius with a great one-take musical fight scene as James Gunn does so well. Metamorpho and Joey are great minor additions that have a lot of fun. Hawkgirl is badass, and Guy Gardner is perfectly portrayed by Nathan Fillion. The casting alone is on point, and I gotta talk about Lex Luthor. Nicholas Hoult portrays a seething, hateful villain perfectly. His Lex Luthor is so brilliantly evil, it's incredible. He is the true highlight of this movie. The way this film is shot, with the flying scenes, the fight scenes, and many more, is so incredibly dynamic and energetic. You feel like you are Superman. It's so creative and well done. The plotline is a little messy with some very heavy inspiration of real world elements, but it does it in such a natural way. This world just feels so alive despite us barely being a part of it at this point. The reveal of Ultraman was awesome and has a lot of future connotations. There was a cool cameo in the movie near the end. The music, including punk rock at the end, was so well thought out. It through specific emotions in this movie. The dialogue may have been a bit corny, but that's what a Superman is. And it was delivered so well, it was hard not to smile. The Superman robots were an adorable little addition, particularly Alan Tudyk as Gary. He was great. This is what a Superman movie should be: light, bright, hopeful, filled with whimsy and hope, and just this sense of happiness and freedom that superhero movies have been missing for ages. If this is what Superman is in the new DCU, stripped straight from the comic pages of All Star Superman and many others, then the future is as bright as the sun because this movie is honestly so perfect, and it had managed to avoid probably one of my biggest fears for it of being overstuffed with characters as it tried to establish an already lived in world, and it succeeded in feeling lived in without the other characters overstuffing it. They all worked and fit so well. I could honestly gush about this movie for hours, but I'll hold myself back and just say James Gunn nailed this movie, and I'm so happy, and I cannot wait for the future of the DCU. Marvel Studios is absolutely back because this is the best Fantastic Four film ever made. First of all, the visuals. The retro 60s visuals with all the colors, the technology, the designs, the costumes of the cities, and of the technology and all the brands and references. They included a Jack Kirby and Stan Lee Timely Comics reference, the Fantastica, the hundreds of references. Everything just looks so good and fits so well together in this retro 60s world that they've created. The VFX and CGI were top quality. From The Thing to Galactus, my word, Galactus looked so freaking cool and was so well performed by Ralph Ineson. The scenes set in space, the lightspeed jump, Galactus' ship, and the interstellar looking black hole was just, oh, so good. Like, it's no surprise this movie took so long to make because this movie looks so good. Seriously, most of the movie's charm and excellence comes from how well they nailed the visuals. The cinematography and the effects. The plot of this movie worked pretty well for the nearly 2 hour movie. It was paced really well, and much like Superman, crammed a lot of world building in. The main four was so perfectly cast, like seriously. Both the individual characters and the chemistry between all the cast. Sue and Reed felt like a married couple, felt like parents, felt like they had real issues and real battles. The thing was so perfectly brought to life by Eben. His soft nature and also his struggle with his look is so perfect. The relationship we has with Johnny felt so brother like his like it was perfect. And Johnny, my word, did Joseph Quinn and the writers nailed this character. He is cocky. He is a bit of a flirt, but he has heart. He is intelligent. He cares. It's so well done, and his various moments of depth just elevate his character. Julia Garner is great as Charlotte Ball. She is not in the movie that much, but when she is, both the visuals of her body and but also her flying and movement are perfectly executed, and her voice is so good. They really just nailed every aspect of the movie. The Franklin Richards plotline, the speech from Sue, Pedro's great work as Reed, a neurodivergent scientist struggling to break free of his ways, the Fantastic Four going from celebrities to hated to loved again, the Future Foundation uniting the world, and the subterranean mole man, Latveria. Emotional moments done so well by a cast with great chemistry, Latveria, an end credit scene that teases a Doctor Doom. There is so much it could be. Great visuals, multiple sweet references, including a Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, and of course wrapped up in Michael Giacchino's usual great score. This movie is fantastic, and it's not only one of the best Marvel movies in ages, but just so well executed in almost every aspect, and I had an absolute blast. I really hope this movie does well, because like Thunderbolts, it deserves to. It's so good and just I'm so happy Fantastic Four has a good movie at long last. And one that is this good. And now I'm hella excited for the finale of the Multiverse Saga because they are setting up some crazy stuff. But also, the recent movies have shown that Marvel still has it in them to cook up some class. So let's see what happens.
Man in the machine and nothing there in between. The flying circus on the man from Russia. The sky in a plane, this man commands his domain. The western frontier all the way to Russia. Death from above, you're under fire. Stay the red as blood is roaming higher. Born a soldier from the horseback to the skies. That's where the legend will arise. And he's flying higher, the king of the sky.
I was actually super hyped for this. Not only the idea of it, based on the novel, sounded really cool, but the animation looked pretty decent and was decently fluid and dynamic at times. And whilst the first 9 episodes were excellent, though I wish we saw more of the Clankers versus Darwinist war and more fights with the mechs and beasties, which probably would have happened if they'd used more of the books. The final 3 episodes were kind of nothing except that Rayla plus Callum 2.0. Seriously, the accent and the costumes, it's so close, it's not even funny. Got their reveal and their moment. I appreciate that Dylan was competent on her own and Alex was as well. Klopp's death was the one emotional height of the show. There was some interesting world building, and the animation and the designs really helped bring this sort of techno world to life. But I just feel like the show was missing a lot that would have elevated it. And of course, that comes from one, limited marketing and a surprise drop, and two, not fully adapting the books. If 9 episodes can tell the basic story of the entire series, you could have easily expanded it to be longer and cover more of the books, which I think would have helped some of the characters and the story feeling so flat, which is even which is unfortunate because I was generally so invested in it, but they just could not do it right. There was even a few weird pacing issues and a lack of exposition in places that are desperately needed. This is one of those series that Netflix clearly did not give two craps about because of everything I just mentioned, and that really sucks because I was so hyped, genuinely invested, and wanted so much more. And whilst I did like the series, I was very disappointed that it was not given anything. Foundation took a page out of Wheel of Time's book and improved massively between seasons. Thanks to that, there was a lot more action in this season than the last. At least there was much more consistent action throughout the show. It may have been overly complicated, but it looks immaculate. The production value has held up over every single season, from the VFX in particular to the that are super impressive. Pilo Asbeck is really good at playing like crazy villains, and the Mule is no exception. Gale continues to be a strong character, and she has had good development in this show. She feels much more competent and powerful now. Lee Pace and the other Empire actors are continuing to do an incredible job, giving each Empire individuality and their own arcs. It's honestly a genius writing move. The actors did such a good job too. Each iteration of Cleon felt individual and unique with their own struggles, and the increase in the seriousness of the series has really built up these characters. This iteration of the Cleons are some of the strongest, with Lee Pace's depressive and emotional Day, to the desperate and naive Dawn, to the angry and aggressive and eventually crazed Dusk. Dusk honestly became one of my favorite and one of the best characters in the show for his final few episodes with his crazy energy and destructive capabilities. Those final episodes were easily some of the best of the show. There was so much new lore and exciting developments in this season, especially the twist at the end and also the reveal in the final minutes, leaving a lot of good stuff ahead of the thankfully renewed fourth season. Apple TV is good at making sci fi content, and this proves it. It's philosophical, complex, and detailed. It's filled with both classic tropes of sci fi, but also a really unique plot and world that helps make it feel unique and keep it interesting. I really enjoyed this season. It was intense, it was emotional, and it was so well crafted. And I'm glad it's getting another season because it's so, so good. And I'm very interested in how they are going to land this plane.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, filling up my coffee cup. One way to shake me up. I've never wanted to sleep. Oh, I won't forget. Memento mori leaves a debt. You haven't paid it yet. I never wanted to sleep. My brain was cynical. Inside this massive hole, and then it swallowed me. I never wanted to sleep. My suit stayed the same. Can't remember my own name. Inside the timeless cage, I never wanted to sleep. A muzzled hound untied and bound, a wild beast crying for release. I want my mouth so I may howl and share with silence of the trees.
The long-awaited return of the series was interesting. I still think that the overall story of Sandman and the Endless is an incredibly poignant and well-written story in both the original novels and the show. The VFX and overall design of the show are incredible. They really do a good job of bringing the various realms to life, as well as that the Endless themselves all feel very unique and have a lot of personality compared to their book counterparts. Dream manages to be stoic while still presenting other emotions. Delirium and Desire are my favorite and an absolute delight. Destiny is probably my least favorite, but he seems to be no one's favorite. The supporting cast of The Dreaming, including another wondrous performance from Stephen Fry, though I do wish they had more screen time. This series just kind of has a lot of warmth and comfort despite having some darker materials with the Orpheus storyline. It was great to see Jack Gleason back acting and doing a nice job portraying the mischievous but good-hearted Puck, and Freddie Fox added another villain to his repertoire with the fascinating portrayal of Loki. In fact, all of the other various appearances were surprisingly fun and entertaining and cool to see how this world is so expansive and encompassing, despite all not having the DC stuff, of course. The segment with the trans woman was incredibly poignant, and it's unfortunate that the character wasn't given the same time as they get in the comics, because their story is powerful and important, but was handled so well. The Death special was interesting, but Death is one of the best characters in the series, and whilst the episode was not massive, it was a sweet little episode that did a lot for Death's character, gave us rugged Merlin, and like Death's episode in the first season, was just very poignant and heartfelt. The series for me has never felt like anything too massive. I haven't read the comics, so I cannot speak to the accuracy of the story or the characters, but they felt compelling enough to me to really drive this series, even when the story was not necessarily going anywhere. Even the Corinthian was interesting this season. I do think this first season was better. However, I felt like the first season gave us more from a lot of different places, but this season gave us more of the endless, which is good because they're done really well and the family dynamics are great. It's unfortunate, and you can tell by watching the series that the show was not allowed to continue thanks to a certain man. Because had it been given more seasons, I think a lot of the issues would have been fixed because more time would have been dedicated to certain storylines and developed more and more. Whilst it is unfortunate that the series is over, I still had a lot of fun with it. The series was surprisingly wholesome, and I actually needed it given how much drama I'm watching at the moment. A pretty big month, all things considered. Two of probably my favorite movies of the year, and some of probably the biggest movies of the year. The other stuff was okay, a little more disappointing than I expected, but I was honestly they were never going to compete with F4 and Superman. The rest of the year is going to be pretty full as well, so let's see what happens.